So if we will talk about the Python, maybe in previous class, I provided you the introductory session, okay, where I talked about these fundamentals in a detail. But I would like to, quick summarization again for the Python. So Python is the first thing, it is an open source. Okay. Open source means we need not to pay any penny to install it. And if we need to use it for our purpose, we need not to give any kind of royalty to anyone. Okay. So it is free for use. Secondly, Python is increasing popularity that we are already aware. Okay. Even all of the vendors, either it is Cisco, either it is whatever big name you take. SD-WAN, last time I asked you that about the SDN, that there are REST APIs, okay, and different kind of APIs we are using through the Python as well. Then we also talked about that it is a fastest growing language and fastest growing language in terms of number of developers. So there are a lot of developers which are working on the Python free for use. We are already aware. So they are providing their own code, and these codes are over the internet. What you can do is you can import these codes. You can just import these codes, or maybe I will say use these codes for your program, and you need not to reinvent the wheels. Those codes over there, the bigger codes, are named as libraries. Like we are having Talent library. Somebody, maybe Kishore, took the name of the NetMiko. So that is for your SSH. So for different purpose, we have different libraries available, like SDK or different things we have. So these are present over there on the internet, and number of libraries are increasing drastically. Maybe if I am saying 50K plus libraries, I would not be wrong. Okay. Then number of big giants are using it, and the names are Google, Yahoo, YouTube, Dropbox, NASA. When I am taking these names, this means that it is not that only Python they are using. They are using some main language also, and somebody are using it as an support language, right? But one of the website I discussed about this into my introductory session also, Reddit. So this website is completely written by the Python. So Reddit is an American social news aggregation website, which is web content rating, or maybe discussion website, we will say. Originally, it was written in the Lisp, language, but it got rewritten in December 2005 for the wider access of code and libraries, greater flexibilities. So Python is in use for different purpose. As I was saying you from the very beginning, that Python has a lot of work culture, we will be saying, okay, and it is very drastically used in different areas. But when we are learning Python, we will be fully focused only on those parts of the Python we will learn, which would be useful for our program. So over the screen, we can see that there is a guy named Guido van Rossum. He is the father of, or maybe the inventor of the Python, we can say. Okay. And he is a Dutch scientist, programmer, okay, who invented this language. Much easy to learn. Even if you don't have any programming language before, okay, we have one of the guy who is having, that is good. But even if you don't have the programming language, like me, I didn't had any kind of programming language knowledge prior to the Python. But when I learned Python, I found it like good in a very good way. We can scale it for our programs, and we can learn it. We can use it for different purpose. That is the facility in the Python, that we can easily grasp the concepts of the Python. So this is your general purpose language. which can be implemented as it is showing over the machine learning, GUI, AI, okay, or maybe artificial intelligence, maybe software development, web development. And it was a long back invented in maybe 1989, okay, before the Java even. But due to its easiness and due to its really it can be used in a very like it's a high level language that I will be going to talk about later on. What is the high level language? But due to that easiness, it is adopted in many of the areas now. One more point I would like to talk over here today, that Python has different versions. Earlier, Python was 1.0 version, which is obsolete now. Then we had 2.x, maybe 1.x, 2.x, which is now very legacy and is about to over. Maybe it is obsolete again. The newer version is 3.x, okay, probably 8, 9, 10, 11. That is the sub versions, okay, which is currently running in the market. So when we will create the programs, we will be creating the programs on the version 3. One more thing, when you are writing down any program, and if you have maybe the previous program of the version 2, these versions are not interoperable with each other. So if you're writing down some program in the version 2, that syntax is literally different if you're writing down the program in the version 3. So there are different syntax. And that is the reason we will be focusing on version 3.x. Now, if I will talk about Python, here I gave an example of CCNA. Like you guys have a very rich, experience currently of 15 years, 12 years, 18 years. So when you learn CCNA very first time, all of we have struggling for the IPv4 addressing even. What is class A, what is, A class address, what is B class address, what is C, what is D, what is E. Maybe we are not aware about these classes. What is private range, what is public range, what is, subnetting, what is supernetting, what is different summarization things. We were not aware about anything. And how we learn those? We learn those by practicing. Same way, when we are starting with Python today, you can feel like that Python is very easy in some classes. In some classes, you will feel like it is very hard. But the main key is the practice. Please try to practice with me when I am doing any kind of class. Do it on the maybe same week. Okay. So Python is bit like maybe your any foreign language. Maybe if we are not, English is not our first language. How we learn English? Okay, by practicing. Similarly, if we need to learn the language Python, even then we need to be aware about basic rules, basic syntax, basic fundamentals. Okay, so those fundamentals are very basics, or this is maybe we can say the foundation for the Python. So when I am teaching you, okay, in first few classes, I would be going with the fundamentals of it. So you should be aware about how we can use different functions, different or maybe different syntax, I will say. Okay, what is the syntax of different types, or what kind of language this language is having, what kind of different basic foundations that we would be starting off with today class. So let us start. The very first thing, maybe I expect this answer from one of you. Python is an interpreter language or a compiler language? Can anybody please tell me? Because I touched this part into the introductory class. Anybody?
A compiler is like whenever we have many lines of code. So if you execute that code, it will, if there is any error, it won't execute. But whereas the interpreter, it will execute only the where the error, where there is no error, those lines of code will be executed, and that one will be ignored.
Thank you. That is the correct answer. But I wanted to ask, Python is using the interpreter or maybe the compiler? That was my question. What the Python uses?
This is the interpreter language.
Right. So let me tell you, I gave you this example, okay, in the introductory class, that if you have a client, we have two clients, let us say, the real example, client 1, client 2. This client is only aware about French. This client is only aware about Hindi. The communication between these two clients is not possible. There is no common language which they people are understanding. Let us say one more person is there who understand both of these language. So what does this person will do? Whenever he will listen the French, it will convert into the Hindi, and this client is happy. He or she is aware about what the client 1 is saying. Similarly, in the reverse pattern, whatever client 2 is saying, it will be gonna send to the client 1 in the French manner. And client 1 is also aware that what client 2 is saying. And this guy, this middleman, okay, is bit like your interpreter or compiler. Although there is some little difference, but I wanted to tell you what is the interpreter or compiler, maybe in very, very layman term. Now, in our purpose, how it is useful? We have the client. This we need to deploy some kind of code onto the machines. And everybody of us are aware from the 6th class, maybe, probably, or maybe from the 1st class, that machine understand the language of 0 or maybe the language of 1, 0 and 1. So machine does not understand about your English or maybe different language. But when we are writing the code of the Python, we are very close to the English. Now, all of the syntax, all of the keywords need to be get changed ultimately to 0 and 1. To convert those things from here to the machine language, we will be using either the interpreter or the compiler. Now, as our friend said, maybe Mutyala, okay, Mutyala said that the difference between interpreter and compiler, which I explained earlier, if we have some line of codes, probably let us say we have 1K line of code, okay, and if interpreter is in used, and in our code at the line number 999, I have some bug or maybe some kind of syntax issue, syntax error, or any kind of error, maybe we will say. At that time, error will be presented to us. But what about the code till 999? That will be get executed without any issue. Maybe later on, when I would be explaining you about the exception handling, you guys would be more able to relate what I am talking about. On the other hand, what compiler do? Compiler will say that I will compile all of these 1K line of codes in one go. If there is error, you need to correct that, and you need to reset the code again. You need to recompile the code again. Means 1K lines need to be recompiled again. This is only 1K line. What about you have maybe 2K, maybe 20K, maybe 50K of lines? So there are different pros and cons about the interpreter and about the compiler. Whereas if I will talk about Python, Python is your interpreter language. So far, all good? Anybody would like to share something, ask something, anything? Okay. So this slide I added just to show you that Python can be used in a different areas. Either it is artificial intelligence, robotics, quantum compounding, web development. For the web development, there is something known as Django. Those people who have registered for maybe all of the 5 modules, you will learn about the Django also. And when I'm talking about the web development, I am not going to show you how to create your own website, but I will be going to show you about a nice HTML representation. And I will be going to show you that, okay, from my F5, just fetch out all the information. User will just create, hit this button. And by clicking on this button, all of the expiry certificate will be represented in the very nice format of the HTML only. End user don't know about anything, how it is working. But how it is working? HTML will invoke Python. Python will go to the device. Device will give some result. That result will be represented in the HTML format again using Django. Again, I am repeating, in this class, anything what we learn will be gonna go for our purpose, that is for the networking purpose, or maybe security, or maybe FI. Okay, so we will be learning anything with that thing keeping in the mind. Web scraping we can use. Maybe those people who are from the FI side, can you please answer me what is web scraping? Because in the ASM we are highly using this term, web scraping. Anybody please, what is web scraping? ASM guys especially. Anybody? No? Okay, it's all right. So maybe this is a different topic of FI ASM, but let me just touch you just to give you the glimpse about the web scraping. That if you search for maybe fares for the flight, okay, you need to go from Delhi to Goa, or maybe any example, okay, any source, any destination. If you are searching for the fare, in that fare you are not searching from the only from the official website of that particular airline, but different website will give you such kind of result. How come? They are doing web scraping. They are searching for these kind of results from your website and populating it into their website as well. It is not illegal, but to a limited extent. So that is a separate thing, but we can use Python for that kind of data manipulation as well. In case of automation, we are using it. We will be automating our programs. How? Maybe later on we will be able to understand about it more. So we will be doing that. Either it is ethical hacking, either it is blockchain, whatever it is, we can see that in different areas, Python is getting used. Okay. Now let us
Excuse
talk
me, sir.
about. Sure.
Can you give the practical example of web scraping? I think I just lost.
Kishore, nothing. Like if you see, maybe I was talking about if you are searching for the camera, maybe. Okay. So these websites, there are, let us say, 5 or 7 websites. They will go to the Amazon and they will just see that whatever their rates are, they will be populating the same rates. Maybe it's going to your website and it is scrapping for the data.
Okay.
And it is not illegal, but up to a level.
So is it via cookies?
Not cookies only are. There are a lot of things, including JavaScript, including Python, as I am saying you. Okay, different language will be getting used.
Okay.
And if you are aware about in ASM, we need to create some kind of web scraping profiles. Okay, I don't know if you people are using it or not, but web scraping.
Yeah, I used ASM, but web
Yeah.
scraping, that is something very new
Okay.
to me.
It's all right. It's all right. If you will, maybe if you have get a chance, I don't know. I uploaded my class for the web scraping or no, but if time permits, maybe I will upload one class for free on the YouTube. Okay, for the NetMinion solutions, you can see maybe more about the web scraping through the practical also. I will show you
Okay.
by the practical as well.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you. So that we were discussing about the things. Now let us talk about something, objects. Okay, you guys are aware that Python is OOP, object oriented programming language. It means it is more oriented to the objects. Now what are the objects? What is the object? Python is an object oriented programming language that we are aware. But what is object? Anything in the Python will be object. Like a string is an object, integer is an object, boolean is an object, float is an object, structure functions, programs, everything is an object in Python. And as mentioned over this slide, that object is simply a collection of data. Here the term variables is also used. Maybe just allow me some time. I will be going to talk about variables also, methods and functions also. But just try to understand first about the objects. Okay. So objects is bit like if you are writing down Python. Python is an object from the class string. Now what the class is? Class is a okay, maybe how I explained you. So Python class is like an outline for creating a new object. An object is anything that you wish to manipulate or change while working through your code. And every time a class object is declared, it will be stored into something known as variable. So let me tell you, like if I am having a jar, you are storing something over here. This jar is bit like your variable where you are storing something. Now, when I'm saying something, it can be anything. Let us say you are storing something like Python. Only one word you are storing, or maybe you are storing this whole slide over there. This whole slide, if I just ignore this particular picture, whole slide is nothing but it is something combination of characters known as string. So this is from the string. Okay, so this is a variable which is storing this thing. What it is storing? It is storing the string as an object. And for string as an object, there is some definition somewhere which is into the class. So class is a blueprint of the object, we can say. Okay, it is bit like you are creating some kind of maybe building, and into that building there is a blueprint. Okay, so that blueprint is the class. Now, when you are developing that building on the land which is occupying it, it is variable where it is getting developed, and that building itself is an object. Okay, so there are a lot of different type of language. Let me say, okay, there can be programming language which based on the procedures, like we can see the procedure oriented programming language, which mainly emphasize on the functions, objects, maybe different types. But here it is more focused on the objects. Let me say, if any kind of procedure oriented language is there, and I am just adding two number, x plus 3. X, you can see that it should be the part of string. 3 is the numeric kind of thing. Again, different objects. I would be talking about these object later on, but just try to understand. If one of the languages is giving this answer, x plus 3, okay, it means I am just talking about the procedure oriented programming language. But in Python, if you wanted to add two different type of object, it will give you an error. It will say, no, it's not possible. More focused on your object. Object-oriented programming language, OOP, very first concept of the Python. Maybe gradually, when we will come to our classes, you will be more able to understand about the objects, about the variables. I will be going to give you a lot of examples totally. So, oh, okay. So when I'm talking about objects, object can be of two types. One is mutable, one is immutable. Let me give you a real-time example. Maybe you guys will be able to understand. There is some device which is playing the song. If you are able to mute, you have control over it. Okay, those objects or those data types on which you have control, you can modify it later on, are known as mutable. I will be going to talk about each and everything. Don't worry. Just I am taking some names for the current classes. Maybe you will not be able to understand, but just try to understand that one data type is like list. Okay. Or maybe object type or data type, whatever you understand. Like list, like dictionary. Or there are different data types which will be coming to the category of mutable. Why? I can perform the changes onto those data types even after declaration. So once I declared, even after that also I can make a lot of change into that. But there are some data types which cannot be changed, immutable. Like maybe you have a string. Once you define the Python in the A, this cannot change. Okay, so that cannot be changed. So these kind of data types or object types are immutable. And Python has a lot of built-in types: int, float, boolean, string, tuples, unicode, lists, sets, dictionaries. Lot of things are there. But don't worry, don't get panic with these terms, because these terms are very easy, and we will be going to cover it into the first classes. Will be, I will be just talking about the very basic things also. into our classes, so that everyone should be on the same page. Nobody should have the thing that, okay, what are these? I don't know aware about it. Okay. Now, here you can see that variables are a bit like jars, as I was talking about. These jars are variables. There are, let us say, we can say 4 variables. Into 4 variables, let us say this is string, this is list, this is dictionary, this is maybe integers. So we have different object types. We can just think about that. Let me give you a glimpse from the command prompt. Let me open the command prompt. Give me a minute. Okay. When I am writing Python, I am going to the interactive interpreter, but I would be going to talk about that later on. I just wanted to show you a glimpse maybe, okay, for the Python. Let us say I am writing down number 1 equal to 5. And if I wanted to check what is into the number 1, the value stored into the number 1 is 5. I am saying number 2 equal to 10. Okay. And if I wanted to check the value in the number 2, it should be 10. If I wanted to print out what would be the thing into number 1 plus number 2, if I wanted to add that, it is 15. So you can see number 1 is a variable which is storing an object 5. What is the type of the value which is stored into this variable? Maybe I am just saying number 1 is this jar name. This jar is storing 5. Now this 5 should be from some kind of class. Either it could be integer, it could be string, it could be list, or different class. What is that? To get that no, there is inbuilt function name as type. Maybe I will say print type of number 1. And this belongs with whom? Class integer. If I will say, okay, number, maybe let me just remove this. Number 1, this is an object, and I can save maybe welcome to Python. And if I will print again, what is the type of the number 1? Now that particular variable are storing the data from the class string, or this object type is string, we can say. Are you guys getting this point up to here? Any question, anything, any doubt? Yes or no?
No doubt, it's fine.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's fine. Yeah.